Hey guys, my name is Caitlin Church and I am the owner of College Girl Crochet. It's this little shop I made where I sell my handmade crochet items. I have a very wide variety of categories in my shop, from stuffed animals to coasters, just really anything. I get a lot of custom orders, so it does have a very wide variety of things that I can make or do make to sell on my shop. But just a couple of things. I have coasters that I sell. They look like this. This is just one of the mini stuffed animals I've made. One of these leggy frogs that you'll see all over TikTok and YouTube. A bunch of people have been making these recently. I have cup sleeves, with different little patterns on them. Then I also have some scrunchies, and this is one of the keychains that I've made. And so really the point is you can make anything once you learn the basic stitches, and you can learn the basic stitches in the previous videos that I've posted. I have a playlist of basic stitches to know to start crocheting. But in this video, I really wanted to talk about the starter materials that you really need to just, make basic projects. You don't need anything fancy to start out with, but these are just some good basic materials to have to start crocheting. And first off, we have yarn. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. This is really the biggest need you have to start crocheting. In my opinion, if you're starting, I would suggest starting with a number 4 yarn, which this is what it looks like. It's kind of the standard yarn type that you'd think of when you hear the word yarn. You'll see it in most craft stores. It's this size, and I would suggest starting with a light colored yarn like this, just because it is easier to see the stitches when you're first starting out with a light colored yarn compared to a darker color yarn like this cat I made. It can be very hard to see the stitches first starting out when you're not used to crocheting. So I would definitely suggest starting with a lighter color yarn. And then moving on, of course, you will need some hooks. I mostly use a 5mm, this one, when I am crocheting with the standard acrylic or cotton yarn. I mean, there are different yarn sizes that call for different sized hooks. As you can see, these are very different sized hooks. This one is a 8mm, this one's a 5, so you will get different size stitches, and the bigger the yarn, the bigger the hook you're going to need. But for basic yarn, like I showed you previously, the pink yarn, I do usually use a 5mm hook. I like to keep all my hooks in a little mason jar it's a pickle jar, but mason jar that I have, just so I can, not lose them all, because I do have a lot of hooks. Then moving on, I do recommend, especially really for any project, if you are having to tie in your ends, which you usually will, getting a darning needle, or crochet needle, yarn needle, whatever you want to call it. They make these. I have this metal one. It's kind of hard to see. I have this metal one. It's a little bit longer, but I do feel like the metal ones are a little more sturdy. But they do sell these plastic ones like this. These just bend a little bit more easily and can kind of get torn up a little bit. But they do sell these metal ones and these plastic ones. But I do recommend getting at least one of these. It doesn't matter what type, whatever you can afford or want to get, just for tying in your ends, because it makes it look way neater of a project if you can hide your ends really well. And those definitely help. You can tie it in with a crochet hook by looping in through the stitches, but I personally like using a needle for that because it just makes it so much easier for me. Then of course you're gonna need some good scissors. These are actually yarn scissors, so they're pretty sharp. They are small, but I mean any good scissors that you want to use will be fine. But I mean, you're gonna have to cut the yarn, so definitely you need some scissors. And that's all you really need as a necessity, but some extra items that I have to show you that I use in most of my projects are definitely these stitch counters. They make them in all different shapes. It's kind of hard to see it. You put it through your stitch and then you can click it shut, so you know where your beginner stitch is. So when you complete the round, if you're crocheting in the round, you know which stitch is your last one. They sell them in packs. I found these, I think at Michael's, and they weren't that expensive. They were maybe $5 or $10 for a pack of, I think this is 15 or 20 of them. And so you definitely get your money's worth. But I do recommend getting these because it makes it so much easier when you are going around and around, so you make sure you end up on the right stitch. Another thing is maybe getting a yarn bowl. I got this for Christmas one year and it really has made my life a whole lot easier. You put your yarn in here, you loop it through here, and the yarn that you're working with pulls out, so you don't have to constantly keep unraveling the yarn, stopping, crocheting, unravel, crochet a little bit, unravel. It just makes it so much easier because you can just pull it and there's more yarn for you to work with. And then of course, if you're making stuffed animals, eyes. I have a lot of them because most of what people order from me are stuffed animals. But you can get like kits of, this is a whole kit that I got off of Amazon of different eye sizes, and it all came in this one box. It came with backs also for them, but I mean it comes with colored ones. These are red, blue, I think clear, green, brown, and then a whole bunch of black ones, different sizes. And I do use these a lot because a lot of what I make are stuffed animals and you need eyes for those. If you don't want to buy the plastic eyes, you can find patterns to crochet your own eyes to sew onto your project, but I just find these so much easier and just a little less time consuming, especially because most of my projects are very big stuffed animals. It already takes me a good couple of hours to finish them and sew all the parts together, that these I can just poke in there, put the backs on, and be done with it. But crocheting your own eyes is an option. I mean, it's a very valid option too. It makes the whole project crochet, and they do look really cool when you crochet your own eyes, but I just prefer to use the little plastic ones. So if you have any more questions or you want to see any other crochet materials that I have, because I do have a whole lot more stuff, just comment below, let me know, and I'll make another video. Thanks for watching.